AWB's 2021 Manufacturing Week is presented by Primera.
I'm sorry, sir. You forgot this.
Wait, you...
Customer service.
Your employees work hard for you. Give them a health plan that works harder for them. From Primera Blue Cross, with more options to fit your business needs and budget. Because your employees depend on it. Find your plan at business.primera.com.
Today, we're all about energy. Think hydro, wind, solar, and everything in between. And we'll see a special Washington company that was saved just from the brink of shutting down. Welcome back to the Manufacturing Bus Tour presented by Primera. Today we're in beautiful Wenatchee on top of Rocky Reach Monument Dam, home to hydroelectric power and leadership in the state of Washington. Hydroelectric power powers manufacturing and it powers Washington's economy.
The majority of our electricity in the Northwest comes from hydropower. And the reason is because we have this incredible river system. Because we have a really big river, fourth largest river in North America, and it sits on the side of a very steep hill. And so you put those two things together and you can produce a lot of electricity. We sell lots of power to Puget Sound Energy, to Avista. In Washington State, 70% of our electricity comes from hydropower. That's an amazing number. It is the highest number of any state in the country. So Rocky Reach Dam is behind us here. There's 1,200 megawatts of electricity out there, capable of being able to power more than 1 million homes. And here you have the ability to be able to produce electricity without carbon emissions or other air emissions in a fashion that is low cost, reliable, and clean. You're one of the first big groups to come to our new visitor center. We just opened this a month ago. Really excited about it. Love the fact that you're here and you come to join us. And we love to show off our project. We also love to tell the story of hydropower. It's free to come here, so it's a great opportunity to be able to tell people how they can do something that would be fun, teach their kids some cool things, and have a good time.
You are now standing in our brand new, renovated, almost $8 million project called the Rocky Reach Discovery Center. It's a place where you experience the Columbia. The STEM Center is designed to be an interactive experience to where you're not learning about, but you're actually integrating with. The experience is the experience, so everything's interactive.
Now I heard just that there's interest in going onto our spillway down the stairs, correct? Are you made that crazy request?
Steve did.
All right. Happy to do it. I do love taking people down there because when you get a feel of that water rushing through these slots, you understand where the power is coming from.
Simply put, wow. A stop 5 years in the making. Thank you to Rocky Reach Monument for hosting us today. Another form of power is natural gas, and we'd like to thank today's show sponsor, Cascade Natural Gas, for being in our corner. And thanks to everyone for helping to make this bus tour happen. Primera, the Boeing Company, Amazon, Avista Corporation, Walmart, Alaska Airlines, Mattel, Google, Swire Coca-Cola, and Banner Bank. Next, let's check out what the students at Wenatchee Valley College are up to just down the road.
Hello everyone, welcome to Wenatchee Valley College. Wenatchee Valley College is hosted in North Central Washington. We have one college, two campuses, one campus located in Omak, about 100 miles north of us. We offer a variety of different programs, both transfer, technical, professional, and continuing education for students who are interested or professionals who are interested in coming back. We serve roughly about 5,000 students a year and are considered and are designated a Hispanic serving institution, which means that our population of students is about 42% Latino and with 47% students of color.
In our program, we kind of start from the ground up, learning all of the base fundamentals that go into becoming a good high-tech machinist. The manual machines and the hands-on stuff, that's basically the first couple quarters of the program. Starting into the third quarter of the program, the students start learning how to read and write code for the computerized equipment. These are letters that students have sent me. Another student that was originally from Southern California, and he came up here and took our program, and now he is back down in California, but he's working in some shops and he's doing really well. So
you're in the refrigeration lab. We teach environmental systems for the indoor building. Yeah, we are the coolest guys on campus though. Get it? Yeah. The big one is ductless. If you haven't seen the ductless industry, that's the big industry. And then around here, it's food, apples, potatoes, server farms. That's the other big industry. And then of course, comfort, cooling, air conditioning at home. But everybody needs us. So I have a lot of former students that come to me and say, hey Greg, and they're my former students that say, hey, we need to hire somebody. Most of my students get jobs before 3 months, 6 months of schooling. In other words, if they want to go to work, there's jobs.
So I have an electrical lab over there, a lot of meter usage, a lot of basic electricity, a lot of trying to get the students to focus on a career path. They transition into maintenance electricians. They work in buildings, on equipment. They don't wire houses, they don't necessarily wire buildings, they service and repair things.
What a great tour that was at Wenatchee Valley College, seeing the next generation of workforce up in their labs working on the technology for tomorrow. Come join us now as we go in a 100-year-old company, Aplets Cotlets, right here in beautiful Kashmir, Washington, making some awesome treats. Come on in.
I'm Piper Tesh. Welcome to Liberty Orchards, makers of the Aplets and Cotlets and the Orchard Bars. Here is our former company president and grandson of one of our founders, Greg Taylor.
Our business is a family business. It was founded over 100 years ago, and it's my family. I'm third generation family management of the company, and our business, Liberty Orchards, was founded by two Armenian immigrants. When they came to this area, it reminded them so much of their homeland, the rolling dry hills, the agricultural landscape. And they decided to go into the apple business, and they bought an apple orchard and they named it Liberty Orchards. But they also came up with the idea to recreate a candy they had that's popular in the Eastern Mediterranean called lokum, or rahat lokum. In the English-speaking world, it's known as Turkish Delight, and came up with a recipe for an apple walnut candy that was like the lokum they loved as children, and they named it Aplets, and that's how we got started.
And this room here is our kitchen. All of the candy is made in the 4 kettles against the wall to your left. Into the kettles, they will add sugar, water, cornstarch, fruit concentrate, and pectin. Each kettle holds about 256 pounds of candy. Then the candy will cook for about 30 to 35 minutes until it reaches 230 degrees. Here is the cutting area. Before the candy goes through the cutter, a layer of cornstarch is added, which will act as a moisture barrier between the candy and the powdered sugar. The candy will move down that conveyor belt and go through the cutter, which is a guillotine style cutter. And it cuts about 732 pieces from each tray of candy. And at full speed production, it can cut up to 50,000 pieces in an hour. The pieces of candy will fall down into the tumblers. The candy will then fall out of the tumblers into a white bin. Once that bin is full, it'll be marked with the flavor, and then the bins of candy are brought over to the packing tables in the center of the room.
Just like Aplets and Cotlets, we all need energy to get us through the day. We're off to see Puget Sound Energy's wind and solar farm, the Wild Horse Project here. Come join us.
So Wild Horse is the third largest wind farm in Washington State. We're at 149 turbines at this site, and we're spread across almost 11,000 acres. The turbines actually only take up 2% of the acreage, so the footprint's about 190 acres of the total footprint. And the rest is winter habitat for elk and mule deer. So we do have two large solar arrays here. This is the smaller one, 315 panels, 52 kilowatts of production. Powers everything within our building here. These were made in Washington. Our other large array is on top of the mountain up there, and that one has 2,408 solar panels. Those are made by Sharp, and that was the largest array in the Pacific Northwest when it was installed in 2007. And these panels make about 165 watts apiece. All right, so overall size of the turbines that we have here, these are 351 feet tall. They have a 221 foot tower, and then the blades stretch up another 128 feet plus the height of the nacelle to get to 351 feet. As far as the components behind me, these all fit in the nacelle. That's the box that sits on top. It's the size of a small bus, smaller than yours, but about 45 feet long, 13 feet high, and it weighs 75 tons when they bring it in. Down at this end, you can kind of appreciate the shape of it. It's pretty much a modified plane wing. It is an airfoil, so it creates lift as the air goes over and under the blade. And we use hydraulics to adjust the pitch or the angle that it's facing into the wind. And that's how we control the speed of the rotor. It only goes from 16.3 to just over 17 revolutions per minute. Over here we have the 34.5 kV cable coming down from the transformer. If you hold onto your hard hat and look up, you can see the twist on it. So it's called wind flex cable because, again, that yaw gear has to turn back and forth to track the wind, and the cable has to be able to go with it.
Hey, many thanks to our friends here at PSC's Wild Horse Energy Wind Farm. What a great tour today. Speaking of wind and speaking of power, we've seen hydro to wind and everything in between. More on energy, let's go to TJ Heibel with the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. Take a quick look. Hello, we're joined by TJ Heibel, who's the renewable power leader at the Pacific Northwest National Laboratories. TJ, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Chris.
You know, we're heading out on this tour talking about the importance of manufacturing and how vibrant it is all across the state of Washington. But as we go forward, we know that our state's really had two competitive advantages, people and power. Can you just talk a little bit about that power mix today and where are we heading as we look at all things power related?
Thanks, Chris. You can't talk about renewable power in Washington without talking about hydropower. It forms the backbone of the state's renewable power and has done for almost 100 years now, starting with the war and manufacturing aluminum for ships and other things for the war machine. Right now at PNNL, we're working to make hydropower more sustainable so it is viable into the future with fish passage and water quality. But hydro alone won't get us there, especially with droughts and extreme events causing water shortages or water uncertainty in the state. So we're looking offshore into the power of the ocean with offshore wind, looking to help meet the Biden administration's goal of 30 gigawatts of deployed offshore wind by 2030, but also to our waves and tides, really leveraging the great maritime industry and history of Washington with our ports, our shipbuilders, and other entities like the Blue Economy Cluster, Maritime Blue. We also are working, of course, to increase solar and wind on land. You won't be able to get a reliable or renewable or resilient grid without storage to help balance everything out. So our grid engineers and our materials scientists are working on new battery technologies for storage, whether it's pump storage, chemical storage like lithium-ion batteries, green hydrogen, or even new redox flow batteries. So a real mix to get us into a clean energy future for Washington State.
Talk about PNNL really is leading the front charge here on all things new kind of in the energy environment, and we're commercializing, you're developing technologies that you eventually commercialize. Can you talk a little bit more about what is happening today and what might we be seeing coming out of places like PNNL here in the future that help meet our energy needs?
Yeah, that's a good question. Batteries, since we were just talking about storage, is one of the things we do really, really well at PNNL. We have a new facility called the Grid Storage Launchpad, $75 million facility funded with $8 million of state money that's going to be launched in 2023. And its sole purpose, its main mission is to accelerate new technologies, new storage technologies out into the future so we can make sure we do what I was talking about just before, make sure we have a sustainable grid that is also reliable and resilient, whether that's to new threats of climate change with droughts or extreme events. But those batteries that we'll be developing there, we'll do that through collaborations with homegrown Washington State companies and the users for these facilities. And we can't do these things alone. We have a lot of smart people at PNNL, but we've learned over the years that we do all of these things a lot better when we're working with our partners. The main thing we're doing at the Grid Storage Launchpad is validating these technologies to de-risk them and get them out into the market earlier. One of the other main technologies that we're looking at is called solid phase processing. These are a super unique set of manufacturing techniques that are really, really flexible, and they can do everything from lightweight vehicles to make sure they're more efficient. And those batteries that are going to be in our electric vehicles make them go further and last longer. We've looked at copper that can conduct more electricity. That means more renewable energy electrons reaching homes and industries and businesses with less material. Copper's gotten a lot more expensive. Some of these rare earth materials have gotten a lot more hard to find, especially domestically. Another set of batteries that we're looking at doing it with organic materials instead of mining things out of the earth. So a lot of really interesting different things that we're trying to do to help the grid and the state of Washington.
Hey, TJ, one last question here. We know that whether it's technology like what we're using in our everyday life or not, that probably our demand for power is only going to be rising, both as our population grows in the state of Washington and as we see the growth of all things energy related. Can you give us just 30 seconds of what do you think the outlook looks like for energy need going forward?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You're right, energy need is going to increase, but efficiency is also going to increase. Our work with buildings really is looking to increase efficiency. We have a great lighting program that's really forged the way for things like LEDs that you now see as commonplace. So I think efficiency will be a big part of what we can do to help meet that growing energy need.
Thanks, TJ. We could have spent a half an hour more talking about this. It's a unique moment of time for this state. We're going through significant population growth. We're seeing new and emerging technologies come forward that will require more energy resources. It's also important to manage our baseload power, as you talked about at the beginning, of all things hydro and others that are related. It takes this whole mix working together to power our economy as we move forward. Thank you so much for the leadership that happens at PNNL and all throughout the state of Washington.
Thanks for having me, Chris. On behalf of Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, operated by Battelle for the Department of Energy, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Today's stop was all about energy. Many thanks to our friends at Cascade Natural Gas for being today's sponsor of Energy as part of the 2021 manufacturing tour. And this windmill right behind me, we were just in it. Thanks to PSC for letting us take a up close and first-hand look at wind energy here in the state of Washington. And after 16,000 steps, I gotta tell you, I'm a little parched. Come join us tomorrow. We're off to see some great companies over in Spokane, Washington, who are on the front end of manufacturing and innovation.